Hello and welcome back to Parenting Unpacked. You're here with Dr. Siobhan Kennedy Costantini and
Hello.
Dr. Kristen Summer.
Yes, I'm here. I was waving. I don't know. I'm really bad at this.
Woohoo.
Because we thought we record in video as well, sometimes I'll do like a non-verbal gesture and forget that most people are listening to this audio only. And that is such a terrible thing for me to do. So I apologize. I'm a very gesture heavy person. So you'll probably get a completely different gist from me if you watch the video, but I'm going to do better, I promise.
Oh, no, totally fine. So for those of you who don't know, we do upload on YouTube. I mean, you're not missing out on too much. You're seeing a messy-haired mum and a messy-haired bun mum although one thing you might be missing out on the video is that I currently have a brand new mic setup, which involves my mic stand is a toy fire truck, and I'm using the fire truck ladder to hold my mic. So, fancy fandangled stuff like that. But we were just chatting off camera and then thought we should we thought we should record, and I was going to share with Kristen and the rest of you a fun and cute thing that happened this weekend. So on Sunday, I got woken up to my little one saying, "Bike, cafe, go now." So we hopped in. Actually, so it's really hot in Australia at the moment. January's obscenely hot. We're hitting 35 degrees, and it's gross. 35 degrees centigrade, which is a large number Fahrenheit for our North American
did you
friends.
say centigrade? Is it centigrade or Celsius?
It is.
Oh.
They're virtually the same thing.
95
degrees Fahrenheit. Well, let's look it up. Because now I hate lying to you, and I do it so often.
Just give me
unintentionally. I'm confident in my inaccuracy. So, yes, here we go. Celsius is a unit of temperature on the originally known as the centigrade.
So you're just old school.
So it used to be called centigrade.
Oh my god, this is such a random conversation.
You
FYI, centigrade,
TikTok
Celsius,
people.
Fahrenheit. It really is.
That's just how most of our conversations go.
But anyways, back to your story. It was 35 degrees
all the time. So back to the story. It was hot. It was really hot. 95 degrees Fahrenheit. I said to my husband, I'll drive to the cafe and meet you there and order our food so that's ready. Let's be sensible here. And he went, no, come for a walk with us. I went, okay. I got maybe 40 meters down the road. And then he went, it's really hot. Maybe you should hop in the car and pick us up halfway through. I went, yeah. So did that. Timo had given up by another 100 meters. But anyway, got all of this is unnecessary setup. The funny part of the story was that we were at the cafe. There was a man sitting next to us who blew his nose really loudly. And Timo turned to me and went, "Oh, man, thunder in nose like Granddad." Which I thought was the cutest thing ever. So I have ordered a Funny Things My Kids Say book. I'm going to write that one in as the first entry. I'm going to.
I live for those books. I have the baby book and the recipes.
You should reach out and get a discount code because you've got your bajillion followers, and then you should tell them that your friend that you run a podcast with
I just don't think
wants a free copy.
Yeah, I like supporting small business, although I'm not sure if they're technically a small business anymore because they're on Oprah's
I'm
recommended list for books. I don't know. Rad, are they Aussie? Are they Aussie? I don't know.
Oh, really?
Amazing. I don't know why we're talking about random small businesses, but we are. So welcome. It's probably not a small business anymore. We're so distractible, but that is a very hilarious thing to say. Maybe we should put that as part of the segment because we usually do meltdown moments and magic moments. But hey, meltdown moments are getting really hard for me to think of. I was trying to think of one this morning, and I was like, it's just kind of the same old stuff. Yes, yeah, I can think of more meltdown moments myself than my toddler because I don't see my toddler having crazy meltdown moments other than typical ones. It's not like she doesn't melt down, guys. My kid melts down often, but it's nothing out of the usual. And once you say it once, so maybe we should introduce a segment of if you don't have a meltdown moment, maybe your kid said something really inappropriate and it was hilarious. And you have just nailed that one for the week. Did the man hear? That is key.
Oh, cheers. Yes,
awesome.
And it was awesome. He thought it was really funny. He liked how amazed Timo was by the sheer volume, because he was an old man, and you know how he just had that sneeze and
nailed it,
nose blowing down. It was, and the best bit is we don't. So both my dad and my father-in-law are called granddad, but I don't know which one to whom he was referring. The best bit is it
no, we differentiate our poppies, so we have like they're both called Poppy, but one's called Poppy Summer. And the other one's just Poppy. And I grew up with the same thing too. Like, it's like, I didn't name Poppy Summer. He was already Poppy Summer. But yeah, when I grew up, I had a...
You didn't pick the surname as well?
I was married into that surname, and I'm very glad. It's quite a nice surname. But yeah, growing up, my Poppy was Poppy and Poppy Pa. So yeah, that's cute, whatever. That's how we differentiate our granddads.
Yeah, we've got Granny and Granddad and Grandma and
Granddad. Okay, so...
Yeah. And same like what about both with Grandma, Granddad. Sorry, yes, let's try and get on track.
Before we jump in the hot take, I have something to talk about. Like, I keep thinking that I have something to talk about. I just want to like chat with you for a second, because we keep pretending not pretending, we keep going to like talk to each other and then being like, oh, save it for the pod. And then we don't. Like, then we just don't talk to each other. But what I want to talk about is kindy today. Because like I am in this really weird phase where Sienna's just started full-time kindy, because I've gone back to work full-time, and I am feeling extraordinarily guilty, and for no reason though, because my kid loves kindy. Like, she is thriving at kindy. Like, she now yells at me to get to kindy. This morning at kindy drop-off, she wouldn't kiss me and hug me. She just ran away. She grabbed a teacher that she doesn't usually get dropped off with. Like, I don't even know this person's name, because she's just like suddenly moved up a room. Like, we were planning on doing it slowly with the kindy, and Sienna's just like, me big room now. So everyone's just like, the educators are like, there's room. And I'm just like, well, go on then. Like, I can't stop you. And so, like, we're in a new room. This is an educator I don't know who she is, but Sienna clearly does. Or she's making fans really fast, because she grabbed her hand and was like, we read books. And I was like, bye. And I was like, can I have a kiss? And, like, I, like, knelt down to give her a kiss.
You're like, okay,
and
see ya.
she just, like, looked the other way and walked away. And I was just like, okay. So, like, the only person struggling with the transition to full-time kindy is me. And, like, it's because, like, now I feel like, I don't know, like, I've always had this problem in my head ever since she was born, like, thinking about kindy. When it starts to be, like, she spends more waking hours with someone else than me. Like, technically it's not true. I had to work out the math to make myself feel better, like, which is just a neurotic thing to do. But, like, I don't know why. I just feel like I don't want her to spend more time with someone else than with me, and that's not true, because, like, daycare teachers don't spend all their time with the kids, and like I don't know what this selfish, like, I want to be like the most important person in your world, and like I am like one of the most important people in her world, but it's wonderful to her to have a diversity of people in her world, and I don't know, it just feels really it's a whole set of complicated emotions going on with me right now, and I don't get it.
I mean, of course it is. And like, you're so right that it's mixed feelings, because of course you're happy that she's, and actually in terms of the the drop off that you just described with Sienna, I had the same thing yesterday morning. He went lovingly into someone's arms, and I put my cheek up to him and said, kiss me, mommy, and he went and just stared at me. I was like, oh, kiss, and he went, I was like, okay, have a great day. I love you so much.
And like,
the best bit,
I just like, I need to like,
you go. There you go.
Kind of caveat this for all the mums listening who are having shit daycare drops at the moment by telling you that my kid used to scream. Like, I would stay with her until she was comfortable and felt confident, like, exploring away from me. And then I would leave and she would still scream. This is like a new thing that's just kind of happened in the last, I want to say, month or so. Like, she usually hates it, like just hates it. And now she's just all of a sudden just like settled in, found her like rhythm, like, so yeah, like, and you're the same, right, Siobhan? He used to hate drops. Yeah.
Exactly the same. So we're in, just started February, it's the beginning of February now, He screamed until the beginning of December at every drop-off. Actually, funnally enough, this is a great topic. How about
let's talk about this?
Just, drop-offs and kindy
and
good. Daycare. Yeah, let's not even worry about what comes after.
Yeah.
This is interesting for us at the very least. Timo started daycare when he was 12 months old, which was earlier than I had thought I would start, but it was for my own mental health, and it was a great decision, and he really loved it while he was there. Drop-offs for the first week.
Me too.
Actually, the first 2 weeks were brilliant. It was just started right at the beginning. It was such a non-event, and I'm going, and I was very smug. I was like, oh, well, obviously I'm doing everything right. And then after 2 or so weeks, it all went downhill, and he would scream and scream and scream and cry and give this face as though someone had just slapped him and thrown him in the water and been like, why are you doing this to me? How could you possibly do this? I had a different approach. I totally respect your approach, and I wish that I did do it. No, I don't know if I wish. I think it's a great way to do it. I didn't do it the way you did it. I would give him a big hug. I told him I loved him so much. I would always leave him with a carer that he knew and he liked. I wouldn't ever this was again all for me. I would so usually, to be honest, I pick my favorite carer. And then hand him off, give him a big kiss, tell him I love him, and then leave. It was short, sharp, consistent, and he would scream every time. And quite a few times, I'd hide and then wait and peek to check how he was. Yeah. He was fine. Usually within a few minutes, he was running around playing perfectly happy, which did make me feel a lot better. But that continued until November, December. So almost a year of just screaming at drop-offs. But now it's fine. And then he also did it. He's joined a new room this year as well. And it was just such a non-event. Actually, the first drop-off was bad. The very first one was bad. But
probably
then the next day was
I'm ready.
Pat on shoulder.
The new room's so much cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much more fun stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. He has a lot more space, better toys for him and his level. He has 2 outdoor areas.
I want to touch on something here because I didn't realize that we did daycare drops differently. So let's talk about that for a second. So you do the short, sharp drop, and that's probably the COVID drop, right? A lot of families aren't allowed to go into daycares and warm their child up to the environment. And that is, it's a choice. It's not a choice, sorry. It is not a choice. You have no choice there. You've just kind of a lot of people have to hand their kid over the fence, and that might be agonizing. So it's really amazing to hear from you that your child adjusted just fine. They were quite happy with the short, sharp drop. You obviously tried to make it so that you found a caregiver with which your child had an attachment with, and because you've got a caregiver there who is a secure base for them, that's probably why they were they cried upon separation, because hey, separation anxiety, this is all what we talked about in the attachment episode. Very normal.
Separation distress and protesting is normal, super normal. There'd be something wrong with your child if they never
exactly. We should probably
indicator of secure attachment.
Sentences. Whoops.
Certainly not. Don't be ridiculous.
So it's really good to hear that in this COVID era that the short, sharp drops are working for your child, and we have children that are in the exact same space right now, which is they are comfortable and safe in their daycare environment, and we did very different things. So what I did is something that I guess because I've worked with toddlers for so long, I figured that my child would need time warming up in the space before they were able to do anything else. And we have very different kids too. Your Timo is a slow to warm up kid.
Yeah.
Sienna is a highly reactive child, so her body is in panic mode. Her nervous system is amped up. On the way to kindy, we give her the phone on the way to kindy because it's a 10-minute drive, and that's not that long, but keeps her calm. And back then it used to be a really anxiety inducing drive because she knew where we were going. So with Sienna, like I didn't feel like I could just drop and run because I didn't feel like she would ever be able to calm down. And there were days where like I had to go and like she still wasn't very happy, and I would go and pick her back up again because usually she was sick or something else was going on. And the educators like really supported me in that as well. But yeah, for me, like I was sitting there and I was like, if I was feeling really sad and my body was feeling really overwhelmed, and my husband dropped me somewhere that I had to be all day and I wasn't ready for him to let me go, which, hey, early like parenthood, like that was exactly how I was feeling. And he just like dropped and ran rather than set me up for the day, made me feel safe and made me feel like I was ready. It would just kind of like start my day off on the wrong foot. Like I would feel like I was constantly trying to recover, whereas like if I was supported through that transition and felt comfortable in the space, like my nervous system would have a chance to settle back down. And then I'd have like a nice calm baseline to start my day. So I'd be able to handle like any, like, you know, kids stealing toys from me or anything like that. So I really put myself in my daughter's shoes when it came to choosing how I did it. But every day, I was wondering whether I was making the right decision.
Yeah. How long would it take?
10 minutes. Some days, half an hour. And thankfully, Ryan and I were on the same page. So my husband and I did the same thing. He didn't feel like he could leave her either, which is a big indicator of the fact that it's the temperament, not the person. Yeah.
Clearly, so you're both picking up on the same cues.
Or my generalized anxiety, you know, I'm an anxious person. Like it could have been just me. Yeah, but my husband felt exactly the same way, felt that like she wouldn't have had an okay day had we not done this. But if you have a kid like mine and you still need to do the daycare drop and run, it's okay. They will be okay. They will establish those secure attachments eventually with an educator or multiple educators, which is what we want, and it'll be okay.
Yeah. I was talking about that with one of the directors at Daycare yesterday morning, I can't remember, how so since Timo's moved up a room, so in his previous room he had his two favourites. He still talks about his favourite. He still talks about how he's going to go visit her. She doesn't actually work at the centre anymore, which is hilarious. So he's like, go there, see Dana. I'm like, Dana doesn't work there, but we can go visit her anytime you'd like. But obviously he has this idea of her. But she was the fave. And then there was the other favourite who didn't work as many days. She was probably the clear winner. It was always interesting for me to try and gauge who was where on the totem pole. But in the new room, he has the one favourite, but the others are not far behind, which is really interesting. Like he's clearly kind of cool with all of them, which was not the case in the previous room. It was I have to be with Dana or just have to wait until Dana's available. Whereas now he's happy to go to any of them. Does have his favourites, but if she's not available, that's okay. And I was talking with the director about how she was talking about her own observations about as the kids get older, they become a lot more comfortable and develop those attachments more quickly with more people, which we know
literally
from the
right
research
timeline on
how that happens.
Theory.
So
it's amazing.
That's exactly. So it makes complete sense, and that doesn't mean that in the moment it's like if your kid's in a tough transition time, it can be hell. It's hellish. You feel awful, and but also dropping off in the way that works for you and your little one that's the way to do it. Like I'm not so I don't think short and sharp is always the way to do it. It just through trial and error I figured out that was the best for Timo. If I had another child who was more sensitive or whose temperament demanded it, then I'd do it differently. I think the thing that really helped me feel comfortable in the fact that we had made the right decision in the way that we did drop-offs for Timo was that one time my in-laws were over visiting at our house, and he was obsessed with Granddad that day, Granddad Peter, and he spent the whole day playing with him and no one else got a look in. We tried to play with him and he was like,
amazing.
I've got Granddad, the rest of you can do whatever you want. And then they left, and he reacted exactly the same way that he does when I leave at daycare. He screamed, did that, how could you possibly do this to me face, like the silent screaming of the tears, it was heartbreaking. I'm holding him. Alex, my husband, is standing right next to him, and we're going, what are we? Like, we're chopped liver? Like, come on, mate. Anyway, so my father-in-law walks out the door screaming. Within 45 seconds, he was fine. Perfectly happy. Yeah. It was as though nothing had happened. And that moment, I was like, oh, when all the daycarers say that you're totally fine straight away, they're telling the truth. I did believe them, but it was something else to see it on the other side. And he's the kind of kid that when he is really reactive, it doesn't take long. And I've seen that. So that would have been over a year ago now that happened. And what we see now with him and his tantrums is really similar. And this is just his temperament. In situations where he does experience like heightened arousal, so arousal in this instance is like heightened emotionality, he recovers really quickly. So thankfully, when the tantrums go to like level 200, they calm down within a few minutes. Yes. But that's very child dependent. That's not because of anything I'm doing or not doing. That's just him and how his nervous system regulates.
Something you said earlier makes me want to I'm going to do a how to apply this to your child kind of segment, because we've just talked a bit of attachment and a bunch of waffly stuff. So let's apply this to your child. If you have a child who is beginning daycare around 1, which is a lot of children, this is a really sensitive time for attachment relationship formation and consolidation, I guess. This is when attachments are very, very specific, and they only have few attachments. And it takes a long time, and it's quite hard to develop new attachments for the child. So if you're introducing your child into daycare at around 1, it's going to be a more challenging transition for you and your child than if you were introducing your child to daycare around 2 or 3, because of the nature of attachment and how it changes as children age. So a lot of it is developmental. It's not like I need to get them in early, I'm always going to have this transition anyways. It is harder when they are 1. Because of the way that they are forming attachments, and we form attachments with our caregivers. So in order for your child to feel safe and comfortable in an environment, they need to be attached to a caregiver, which is why kids like Timo and my daughter had specific caregivers at daycare that they preferred, and that's because they worked hard on developing that attachment with that one person, which is why it gets really hard. And I think there's always one caregiver in a room that every child loves, which makes it really hard for that one caregiver. I watch it all the time at my daughter's kindy. Parents will come and drop off a baby, and if that one caregiver isn't there, that baby screams. But if that one caregiver is there, the baby's just see ya. And it's like a 10-month-old baby or something. It's amazing how different it is. So this is how attachment kind of interacts with the introduction to daycare. So if your child is protesting and is sad, know that it's not your fault and you're not doing the wrong thing. Your child is just working on creating another attachment with another person. And at this age, it's more difficult, but it will be okay. And they will form that attachment. So it's nothing that you've done wrong. Now, the other thing about starting daycare that I got a lot when I was posting about daycare on TikTok, because I go through stages of what kind of topics I present on my socials, was do I need to stop breastfeeding, and do I need to stop feeding to sleep? And sleep trainers and all sorts of people would slide into my comments being you need to stop feeding the baby, you need to stop supporting them. And I was just no, you don't need to do any of that.
No way.
Your child will form you don't
need to do anything
a sleep
differently.
Association and a food association with the people that they're with. So my daughter puts herself to sleep at kindy or gets her butt pat and goes to sleep. She doesn't do that at home. She feeds to sleep. She is over 2 and still feeds to sleep. And do you know how hard it is for me to put her to sleep without feeding her? Oh, so hard. But she's been at kindy since she was 10 months old. And unlike you, I planned on having her in there at 10 months old. I needed that for my sanity. I actually planned on having a nanny at 4 months, but COVID hit and, shit hit the fan. But we don't need to talk about that again. But the thing is, I didn't need to stop breastfeeding her during the day I didn't need to wean her at all, despite the fact that she was breastfeeding from me at 10 months many times a day because I demand breastfed. I just sent her with milk, even though she didn't take a bottle. I sent her with milk, and she didn't take it for the first few days, but she wasn't going hungry. She was like, she would eventually eat food. Like, it was a bit of a like rocky transition, and we would feed more at night to make up for it, but it wasn't a big deal. Like, she didn't need to learn how to drink from a bottle. She didn't need to be day weaned. She definitely didn't need to be night weaned, and I didn't need to stop feeding her to sleep because she just figured out how to go to sleep with a caregiver on her own. And lots of educators will also tell you that it's okay. There's always a bit of a transition. Most daycare educators rock babies to sleep. Like, they account for this in their scheduling, their staffing. They will rock them to sleep or sing to them or whatever you tell them what to do. So if your baby is about to start daycare, you don't need to wean. You don't need to stop feeding to sleep. You don't need to stop assisting to sleep. And if any educator tells you to do those things, that's not the right daycare for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. Kids are clever. They learn what works with different people and in different contexts, which, that's how humans operate. That's one thing we need to do. We learn throughout our lives what's okay at school, what's not okay at school, what's okay at home, what's not okay at work, etc., etc. Like, that's part of what we do, and that's part of socialization, learning that different things happen in different places with different people. And I completely agree. If your daycare is suggesting that you change your life around them, then maybe that's not the right daycare for you. And, like, I don't want to sound bratty, but at the end of the day, you're paying them to look after your child. Like, that's on them. They got to figure that one out. And, like, there's areas of grey, obviously. Like, if it's in your child's best interest, that you slightly change something up at home, and that's done in consultation and conversation with them, sure. But if it's causing you stress at the idea of completely changing the way you do things in order to fit someone else's expectations, no thank you. That's not my job. That's your job. Similarly, so I used to rock Timo to sleep until maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And then now, and like he demanded the change. He lay down in bed, grabbed my hand and said, pat bum, go to sleep. And I was like,
wow, that's way easier.
We can do that. So now he lies down, I put a blankie on him, and that's another fun game we play. He either demands the star blankie or the feather blankie, and we usually change 4 to 5 times. And I just go, yes, boss, whatever you say, boss. The good thing is when it's very dark, he doesn't know which blanket it is, so I just take it off and put it back on. That's how I gain my power back. But yeah, like, and he shifted that, and that's how. And like, he was going to sleep with them with patting on the bum over a year ago. That's how they did it, and that's how my mother-in-law's been doing it for more than 6 months. And that's how my husband's always done it. But it was rocking to sleep for me until only a few weeks ago. So kids adjust things as and when they're ready, and if you need to adjust it, then there's ways to do that. Whether that's feeding or sleeping, there's ways. Like, you kind of have to do what works for everyone, for the most part. But
they are, and I think
pretty flexible.
Siobhan, that's a really good point to end on. We didn't plan on recording a daycare episode today, but it is the episode we ended up recording. I'm just going to rename my episode that I've got in our little recording thing for me. So today's episode...
You'll never know what we were planning to talk about.
But today's episode was on daycare drops and transitioning to daycare, whether you've got a baby or an older child. That's what today's episode was on. Sorry that we didn't put this at the start, but now you've heard it. Siobhan, do you have a magic or a meltdown moment for me this week?
My magic moment's probably thunder in the nose, because that was epic. Meltdown, not really, just the usual toddler, how dare you give me the blue cup, I obviously wanted the yellow one. Although he does use the colour names blue and yellow interchangeably. He's very clear about which one he means. But it's not always obvious to listeners.
I love it.
Using the wrong words.
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't have a meltdown moment this week because I just can't think of any. My brain's like in a really like gratitude, positive kind of mindset because I've been like working on that lately. And so other than my magic moment.
That's nice.
Well, yeah, my magic moment, obviously my daughter's got a magic moment, and that's that she's going up a room in kindy. And one of the reasons why I think she loves it so much is because her favorite educator moved to that room a few weeks ago. And so she has been, well, she was freezing her out.
Sorry, I need to follow this lady.
Like, acknowledge her because she wasn't in the same room as her anymore. And then like she had a trial day the other day, and now she's just demanding it. So that's a magic moment for me because we're, you know, moving up. She's moving seamlessly up. And then I have one more magic moment, and that's that I have been practicing breathing for my anxiety for quite a while now. I used to think it was all bull and like airy fairy fluffy shit. Even though I know there's science behind it, I was still like, no, F this. I'm too busy for this. Like my brain and body wouldn't work. So I've been practicing it for a while now, and I've just gotten to the point where if I do it properly and focus on it, my body experiences the same level of relaxation that I experienced when I was on like acute anxiety medication, like a benzo. And I was just like, this is mind blowing to me that I can like stand in the face of a panic attack, and I don't even need a drug to bring me down. I mean, I'm on an SSRI, which is helping me like get to those therapeutic techniques. Yeah. And now I am using breathing in such a way that like it's calming my nervous system down so much that like my body feels warm and fuzzy after like 5 minutes of breathing. And I'm just like, whoa. And I'm so calm and so zen. And I just didn't believe that it was a thing. I mean, I used it the other day while Sienna was playing in the house, and like I saw her grab the tub of oats, but I was like so like wound up that I needed to just stop and breathe. So while I was breathing, she grabbed the tub of oats, poured them all over the floor, and was just like, well, she wasn't being spiteful or naughty. She was just really, like sensory play.
No, just swimming in it, of course.
She's like, well, Mum's calming herself down with her breathing. I can calm myself down by sensory play. So like I was just like, this is fine. Like, this is so fine because
life is
like,
good.
This is easy to clean up. A panic attack lasts for like 5 hours for me. So I'm going to do the calming thing while she makes a mess, and then we'll get the vacuum cleaner out later. So that was my magic moment for anxiety. It is mind-blowing.
That is marvelous.
Anyways, we're going to stop there.
Go you.
We will catch you in the next episode where we talk about the thing we were meant to talk about today. Okay. Bye.
Yahoo! See you guys. Have a good one. Bye.